Trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to heal. Does trust matter in your brand today in social media? Hi, welcome to the Stratazine podcast, where we dive deep into social media. I'm Nate Kennedy, your host, and today I'm joined by Faith Gordon. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our topic today is going to be really focusing on trust. And this kind of all started out with this quote. It says, according to a study conducted by Research Institute Marketing Sherpa, 82% of consumers report authenticity concerns that prevented them from making online purchases. Authenticity concerns, the first thing I think of is they don't trust to make purchases from these companies or whatever it may be. So to you, what role does trust play for brands?
This plays a huge role for me personally in different brands, because as a consumer, I have to trust a brand to really want to buy their product or to engage in that company or that brand. It really impacts a lot of the decisions that I make as a consumer, for sure. So I think it plays a huge role.
Yeah, I agree. If you don't really trust a person or a page, it's like what makes you want to spend your hard-earned dollars towards that, from even just your time and attention. According to PwC's Consumers Insight Survey, it says 14% of respondents put trust as their number one reason for choosing a retailer. Trust in a brand was the second most frequently cited reason for purchase decision making. And so, yeah, I agree with those same points. Pre-order, if we really want to buy something for a brand, or even just trust an online influencer, be able to, I shouldn't say trust an online influencer, but even if we want to engage with someone's content, we almost have to trust them to a certain amount of degree. This quote, it comes from an article by Brandmaster Academy. And I think they hit on, this is a really great example of a brand that really does trust very well. It says, think of an Apple store. You could visit an Apple store in New York, London, Tokyo, or Sydney and expect to see the same furniture, customer service, logo, fonts, displays, products, and overall experience. I think right there that sums up, Apple is consistent across their brands, or across their marketing, their brand, and everything that they do within their company. And I think that principle of consistency is really, really important in social media and also for building trust. For you, why do you think consistency matters so much in building trust?
Consistency shows that your brand is going to show up every time. You're either going to have a good product every time, you're going to market consistently. If you're marketing consistently, then your consumers, your audience, your customers, they know that they can rely on your brand to follow through with their product. They can find their product in the same place, the same time. You know where to find it, you know how to find it, you know exactly what you're going to be finding when you get to that point. Personally, I think Crumbl Cookies is a really great example of consistency. They just always, every week, that they're going to be hosting their lineup of cookies. People wait every week to see what kind of cookies they're going to have out the following week. And they're consistent in the way that they post. Their brand, their visual design is the same. It's always that bright pink color. I mean, you know exactly what you're going to find when you go onto their social media sites. And when you walk into their store, you know that their quality is good. And you know that they will have something ready for you every week, something new.
Yeah, no, I think that is an amazing example. I think what you kind of described is essentially that the customers can be able to trust in the experience that they're going to have in Crumbl because they know what's coming. Like that, they have that almost format every week of, hey, Crumbl, we're going to put out those new flavors and this is what you can expect from this week. And it allows you to really build that trust of consistency of like, hey, okay, if I show up here at a Crumbl, I know what I'm going to expect. And I think that really ties into social media of your posting. If you're not very really consistent with your posting or are really consistently posting similar formats, how are people really going to trust your brand and what you value? Another article from the quote, it says, customers trust in the familiarity. And I think that is really, really important. When I was a kid, after school, I'd come home and we didn't have many TV channels growing up, but we had PBS Kids. And every time I came home at 3:30, I would watch an episode of Arthur. And that to me was something I looked forward to every day. And I was like, oh, I love coming home to watch Arthur. And you could say I trusted the brand of Arthur to deliver an entertaining story to me. I think right now in the social media landscape, a lot of things that brands go wrong is they don't really have a consistent format that they like to come to. If you think about it, a format is kind of like that thing that you can come home to every day. you can rely upon it to say, oh, I know what this person is going to deliver, or I know what this brand is going to deliver. I think one, to add on to your example of Crumbl, like you said, that format of new flavors every week. Another example of an influencer that I think does this really well with formatting is Mr. Beast. If you look in his last 15 videos or so, you're going to see 3 videos that say, I spent 7 days blank. He spent 7 days on an abandoned city in solitary confinement and being buried alive. So he has that format of like, oh, I did something blank for 7 days. Another format you can also see is being able to his one versus huge amount of money blank. It's like 1 versus 250 million private island, 1 versus $10 million job, and 1 versus $1 million house. These are all examples of formats that he's kind of adopted that his audience, appeals to more, try as broad as possible. But these are formats that people can come to expect and that he delivers consistently, which I think really helps build trust with his brand.
Yeah, I love that example. I think it's a great example. I also think that it just shows that once someone finds something that they enjoy, they can know for sure that they're going to come back and find that same thing again. You know exactly where to find something that you already know that you love. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree. However, though, there is something more powerful, a higher form of trust that sometimes can't always be found in advertising. This comes from an article from the Content Marketing Institute where it says, according to a Nielsen study, 92% of global online consumers trust word-of-mouth recommendations from friends and family above any other form of advertising. I think that's really, really fascinating. But to you, why do you think word of mouth works so effectively?
I think word of mouth is a really important way to establish trust. And I think it's because we trust and know our family, our friends. Those are the people that we're comfortable with. And we are obviously going to trust them before we trust company that we don't know or people that we don't know online in our social media. And so if you hear somebody that you know and that you already have established trust with tell you that something works for them, that a brand is really good, a product is really good, or they've had a good experience with something, then you're much more likely to believe that, trust in that opinion, and then try out that brand or that company. And so I think word of mouth is super important because once you see that other people are having a good experience with something, especially people that you already have established trust with, you are a lot more likely to want to go try that thing or that brand or, try something different that you haven't tried before.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Having pre-established trust that's like, oh, this person is going to lead me astray really helps for people to try that new product that they've been seeing, or to be like, oh, I've heard about this influencer. Maybe I want to go watch them because my friend told me I really enjoy them. It really allows people to, I think, forego some of those blinders that they put up when it comes to social media for advertising. From the same article, it says, with social media, customers will look for social proof and testimonies to gauge whether to trust a brand and its products. I think that's so important to really focus on, hey, what are my customers really saying about me? Because at the end of the day, what matters most is what your customers think of your business, not necessarily what you think of your business. In your experience, how have you been able to see brands that have good relationships with their customers move forward and to grow more versus brands that don't?
That's a really interesting question. I see a lot of brands that have established trust with their customers move forward quickly. One example that I think of is our sports teams. So my family's really big into baseball. They love baseball. And I think that when you go to a baseball stadium, we're a fan of the Chicago White Sox. I'm from Chicago. So when you go to the Chicago White Sox stadium, you have a great experience there. People go, they love it. And then they're a lot more likely to continue coming back because they had such a great experience once, especially in sports where people will communicate with other people. Like my husband loves baseball. He'll communicate with other people in my family, like my brothers, my stepdad, they all love baseball. And he'll say, oh, hey, did you watch the game tonight? Did you try out this new milkshake that the stadium has? Next time you go, you try to try it. And it just kind of keeps other people engaging. So they've established trust with one person or a group of people, and then they'll go and tell other people, hey, you've got to go try out this new thing that the stadium has to offer, or you've got to watch this game. It was crazy last night. Watch tomorrow's game. I bet it's going to be really good. So once you start to establish trust with one person, it kind of spreads like a wildfire a little bit. It starts to spread and people will catch on to those things. So it's really important because once you establish trust with someone, it can grow quickly with others as well.
And no, I really love that. And I think you hit on kind of how so many times with your brand and on your social media, you hope to have a viral hit. Having things go word of mouth is kind of just like a viral hit in real life, if you think about it. And it really allows to build that trust with your audience. That's like, oh, it's not us telling you, hey, this is what we do. It's like, oh, this person that you already trust telling you what to do. And it makes it much easier to move forward in that process and to grow trust in your brand.
Yeah, it's really important. I also think about the flip side of things. I mean, I'm sure you've had the same experience. I'm sure a lot of people have experiences where they do try something new. I see this often with food, restaurants and things like that, where you try something new and you don't have a good experience, or your experience is inconsistent. You try it once and it's really awesome, and then the next time you go, it's not so great. And that really breaks trust. And then, even if you did go and have a good experience once you go the second time and you have a poor experience, you're a lot less likely to go. So having a consistently good experience with a brand and having that trust continuously built up keeps people coming. If you're breaking that trust, even if it's every once in a while, you're a lot less likely to keep customers coming back. So it's important to keep that trust going.
I agree. Holding on to that trust it takes years to build up, but only seconds to break and forever to heal.
Yeah.
One other way to also build trust with your audience is, I think this is really interesting, is influencer marketing. In your experience, what do you think are some of the benefits from brands using influencers to market their business?
I think if you have an influencer who already has built up trust with their specific audience, then it can be a really great experience for a brand to partner up with an influencer or have their product endorsed by an influencer. They can gain a lot of clientele, a lot of customers that way, and quickly too, because influencers often reach people very fast through social media. And so that can be a really good experience. I think that can work really, really well for some customers. I think about Stanley, those like Stanley cups. I do believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe they were not doing so well at some point. And then I think some influencer was like, hey, these cups are amazing. And then they marketed to a different audience, were able to shift their perspective and who they're marketing to. And their brand started to skyrocket. Now everybody loves Stanley Cups. So I think if you've got somebody endorsing it can be a really great experience.
No, I agree. The right influencer, what's so great about influencers, it really helps you tap into an audience that they already have trust established with this creator. And when you have the right creator promote the right brand or business, it can be a slam dunk, where it's like just how you gave with the Stanley Cups. Because I remember that, the Stanley Cups boom. But I think really focusing on finding the right influencer can really boost your brand to new heights and to build more trust. But also with the wrong influencer can very negatively affect your brand. An example that comes to mind for me is the Human AI pen. If you haven't heard about it, it's this pen that you can kind of put onto your chest, and it's kind of like a computer, almost kind of like your phone, where you can ask it questions and can tell you how tall is the Empire State Building, and it'll search and it'll pull that up for you. You can also has like a projector in it where you can scroll across your hand or watch films that way. But this influencer's name is named Marques Brownlee, and the title of his review was like, "This is the worst thing I have ever reviewed." If you go through that, he brings up really several key points of why he thinks this product fails as tech. And from that, a few weeks after his review of it, the company for the Human AI pen is down severely, and they put most of the blame on him. Now, whether or not all of the blame is to be put on him for one bad review of a product is that's hard to justify. But I think it really shows how much trust an audience can have on an influencer. If it's not the right fit, then it can very negatively affect your brand. And so I think it's really important to consider all those aspects of what makes the right influencer right for our brand or for our product. Because if not, it's going to be very detrimental to your brand and your company.
Yeah, that's a great example. That example, it really can impact both in positive and negative ways. It can impact your brand really greatly and who you're marketing to.
Well, that's all the time we have for today, Faith. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your thoughts and insights. And I hope all the listeners out there that you learned something about building trust with your brand, because trust in this day and age is one of the most important things. But thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the next deep dive.